Hello lovelies, in this video we're going to go through the research methods, all the data, all the collecting data, analysing data that you need to know for your AQA GCSE Sociology.
AQA GCSE Sociology. Topic 2, Sociological Research Methods. Lesson 1, Research Design. Research design is the process of creating a plan or strategy to answer a research question or test a hypothesis. There are several steps involved in research design, including the establishment of appropriate aims and hypotheses, the use of pilot studies, the selection of appropriate sampling methods, and the analysis of data. Here's an overview of each step. Number 1. Establishment of appropriate aims and relevant hypotheses. In this step, researchers need to identify the research question they are trying to answer and formulate hypotheses based on existing theories or previous research. It is essential to have clear and specific aims that are relevant to the area of study. Number 2. Use of pilot studies. Pilot studies are small-scale versions of the actual research study, conducted to test the feasibility of the research design and methodology. This step helps identify potential issues and refine the study's design. Number 3. Selection of appropriate sampling methods. Sampling involves selecting a subset of the population to represent the entire population. Researchers must ensure that the sampling method is appropriate and representative of the population under study. Sampling can be done using probability or non-probability methods. Number 4. Data collection. In this step, researchers collect data through various means such as surveys, interviews, observations, and experiments. Data can be qualitative or quantitative, depending on the research question and the type of analysis planned. Number 5. Analysis of data. The final step is the analysis of data. Researchers use statistical and analytical tools to analyse the data collected in the study. The results are then used to draw conclusions and make recommendations. Overall, the research design process involves careful planning and attention to detail to ensure that the study's objectives are met, the data collected is accurate and representative, and the analysis is valid and reliable. Lesson 2. Qualitative and quantitative methods and the mixed method approach. Qualitative and quantitative methods are two broad categories of research methods. These methods are used to collect data and analyse it in order to gain insights into various phenomena. Here is a description of the different methods and their strengths and weaknesses. Qualitative methods. Qualitative methods are used to gather data that is not numerical, such as words, images, and other forms of information. These methods include interviews, focus groups, observations, and content analysis. They are particularly useful in exploring complex, subjective phenomena, such as experiences, emotions, and social interactions. The strengths. It allows for the exploration of complex, subjective phenomena. It provides rich and detailed data, It allows for flexibility in data collection. It can uncover unexpected findings and lead to new insights. The weaknesses. Data can be difficult to analyse and generalise. It can be time-consuming and expensive. And the findings may be influenced by the researchers' biases and their interpretations. Quantitative methods. Quantitative methods are used to gather numerical data that can be analysed statistically. These methods include surveys, experiments, and observational studies. They are particularly useful in exploring objective, measurable phenomena such as attitudes, behaviour, and demographics. The strengths. It allows for the testing of hypotheses and the identification of cause and effect relationships. Results can be statistically analysed and generalised. It can be efficient and cost-effective. It also minimises the influence of the researchers' biases and interpretations. The weaknesses. It may not capture the complexity of subjective phenomena. It can be limited by the validity and reliability of the measures used. It also does not allow for flexibility in data collection. Questionnaires, interviews, and observations. Questionnaires, interviews, and observations are commonly used in both qualitative and quantitative research. Questionnaires involve asking participants to respond to a set of questions in a standardised way. They can be used in both qualitative and quantitative research and can provide large amounts of data quickly and efficiently. However, they can be limited by the quality of the questions and the response rates. Interviews involve asking participants open-ended questions and allowing them to respond in their own words. They are much more flexible than questionnaires and can provide more detailed and nuanced data. However, they can be time-consuming and may be influenced by the interviewer's biases and interpretations. Observations involve watching and recording behaviour in a natural or controlled setting. They can be used in both qualitative and quantitative research and can provide detailed information about behaviour. However, they can be time-consuming. They may be influenced by the observer's biases, and they may not capture the complexity of subjective phenomena. The choice of research method depends on the research question, the type of data needed, and the resources available. The mixed methods approach involves combining both qualitative and quantitative research methods to provide a more comprehensive understanding of a phenomenon. This approach has gained popularity in recent years as researchers have recognised the limitations of relying on a single method to answer complex research questions. Here are some ways in which the mixed methods approach can be useful. Number 1, a comprehensive understanding. The mixed methods approach can provide a more comprehensive understanding of a phenomenon than either qualitative or quantitative methods alone. By combining both types of data, researchers can triangulate their findings and validate their results. Number 2, greater validity. The mixed methods approach can improve the validity of research findings by using multiple methods to measure the same construct. This can help to reduce the influence of bias and provide a more accurate picture of the phenomenon under study. Number 3, flexibility. The mixed method approach provides greater flexibility in data collection, allowing researchers to tailor their methods to the specific research question and the population being studied. Number 4, improve generalizability. It can improve the generalizability of findings by using quantitative data to identify patterns and trends and qualitative data to explain these patterns and provide context. Number 5, improve practical relevance. It's particularly useful in applied research settings where the ultimate goal is to produce actionable recommendations. By combining both types of data, researchers can provide a more comprehensive understanding of the issue at hand and provide more targeted and effective recommendations. However, there are also some challenges associated with the mixed methods approach. These include the need for specialised training and expertise, the potential for increased complexity in data analysis, and the need for careful attention to the integration of the qualitative and quantitative components. Lesson 3, Data. In the UK, different types of data, including qualitative and quantitative data, and official and non-official statistics, can be useful in answering different types of research questions and providing different types of insights. Qualitative data. Qualitative data can be particularly useful in providing insights into the experiences, beliefs, and attitudes of individuals and communities in the UK. It can be used to explore complex social phenomena, such as the impact of social policies on vulnerable populations, the experiences of marginalised communities, and the factors that contribute to social inequality. Qualitative data can be collected through methods such as interviews, focus groups, and ethnographic observation, and can be analysed using techniques such as content analysis, thematic analysis, and discourse analysis. Quantitative data. Quantitative data can be particularly useful in measuring the prevalence and distribution of social phenomena in the UK, such as poverty, health inequalities, and educational attainment. It can be used to test hypotheses and establish cause and effect relationships, and can be analysed using statistical techniques such as regression analysis and factor analysis. Quantitative data can be collected through methods such as surveys, experiments, and observational studies. Official statistics. Official statistics in the UK are collected and published by government agencies such as the Office for National Statistics, called the ONS, the Department for Education, and the Department for Work and Pensions. They provide reliable and standardised information about social, economic, and demographic trends in the UK and can be used to make policy decisions and track changes over time. Official statistics can cover a range of topics, including population demographics, labour market trends, and education statistics. Non-official statistics. Non-official statistics in the UK are collected and published by organisations or individuals outside of government agencies. They can provide additional insights into social phenomena that may not be covered by official statistics and can be used to highlight emerging trends and issues that may not receive attention from official sources. Non-official statistics can be found in sources such as academic journals, think tank reports, and community-based surveys. Data can come from primary and secondary sources. Primary sources. Primary sources of data are original sources of information that are collected or created by the researcher. This type of data is first-hand and has not previously been published or analysed. Examples of primary sources of data include surveys, interviews, observations, and experiments. Primary sources of data can provide the researcher with direct access to the information they need to answer their research question and can be tailored to specific research needs. Secondary sources. Secondary sources of data are sources of information that have already been collected, analysed, and published by someone else. This type of data is second-hand and can include information from sources such as books, journal articles, government reports, and statistical databases. Secondary sources of data can be used to provide context and background information for a research project, to compare and contrast findings from different studies, and to identify gaps in the existing literature. It's important to note that primary and secondary sources of data can be used together in a research project. For example, a researcher may use primary sources of data to collect original data, and then use secondary sources of data to provide additional background information or to contextualize their findings. Lesson 4: Practical issues in sociological research. Sociological research, like any other type of research, is subject to a range of practical issues that can affect the quality and usefulness of the findings. Some of the most common practical issues in sociological research include: Number 1, time. Researchers need enough time to design, conduct, and analyse their studies. However, time constraints are often a significant challenge, especially in longitudinal studies that require data collection over an extended period. Additionally, some topics such as social change or generational shifts require more extended periods of observation or data collection to be understood fully. Number 2, cost. Sociological research can be costly and securing funding can be challenging. Researchers often need to cover expenses such as equipment, research assistance, travel, and participant incentives. The costs can limit the size of the sample, the length of the study, or the complexity of the research design. Researchers must balance the costs against the potential benefits of their study. Number 3, access. Researchers need access to the populations they wish to study, which can be challenging in cases where the population is vulnerable, marginalised, or difficult to reach. Additionally, gaining access to data, such as government or corporate records, can also be challenging. Number 4, ethical considerations. Sociological research is subject to ethical considerations, and researchers must obtain informed consent from participants and ensure their privacy and confidentiality. However, ethical considerations can create practical challenges, such as when it is difficult to obtain informed consent or when maintaining confidentiality conflicts with the goal of the research. Number 5, bias and subjectivity. Researchers must be aware of their biases and subjective viewpoints, which can influence their interpretation of data. Sociological research is often qualitative, and subjective interpretation can pose challenges to the validity and reliability of the findings. Researchers must be aware of these challenges and work to address them to ensure the validity and usefulness of their findings. Lesson 5: Ethical issues in sociological research. The ethical issues of consent, confidentiality, and harm to participants in sociological research are critical considerations for researchers in the United Kingdom. Number 1, consent. In the UK, obtaining informed consent from participants is essential for sociological research. This means that participants should be provided with clear and understandable information about the study, including its purpose, potential risks and benefits, and the participants' rights. Participants should also be informed of any data sharing and storage arrangements, and they should be given the option to withdraw their participation at any time. Researchers should ensure that consent is voluntary and freely given, without coercion or undue influence. Secondly, confidentiality. Confidentiality is a fundamental ethical principle in sociological research. Researchers should take appropriate measures to ensure that participant data is kept confidential and that participant anonymity is maintained where possible. This can include measures such as using pseudonyms, limiting access to data, and storing data securely. Researchers should also inform participants of any limitations to confidentiality, such as legal requirements to report certain information. Number 3, harm to participants. In the UK, sociological research should not cause harm. This can include both physical and emotional harm. Researchers should take appropriate measures to ensure that potential harms are identified and minimised, and that participants are not exposed to undue risks. This can include measures such as providing support services, debriefing participants after the study, and ensuring that any harm is reported to the relevant authorities. To address these ethical issues, sociological researchers in the UK should adhere to ethical guidelines, such as those developed by the British Sociological Association or other relevant professional bodies. Researchers should also obtain ethical approval from an institutional review board, an IRB, or ethics committee before beginning their research. The IRB or ethics committee will review the study design, ensure that all ethical considerations are met. Additionally, researchers should engage in ongoing monitoring of their study to ensure that ethical considerations are met throughout the research process.
Ouch! This is why in some videos I explain scratches.